Well, it's an honor and a pleasure. We're going to go to Houston, where the Final Four is, and joining us from Houston, someone who, when it comes to a journalist in South Florida whose passion is college basketball and has been for decades, it is Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. I can go back to probably the James L. Knight Center days
Yes,
of seeing.
1985, Tito Horford,
Yeah,
Bob Schneckenberg, Mike Noblet. I reached out. Actually, Bob Schneckenberg liked a tweet that I sent, and I wrote him, and I'm like, "Are you here?" And he said, "Yes, I am. I'm here." So Bob Schneckenberg, Mike Noblet, Kevin Presto, Eric Brown, Dennis Burns. I mean, you name it. I was there for the beginning, for the open tryouts that they had on campus. I was a student then in 1985, writing for the school paper. Bill Foster and Seth Greenberg, by the way,
yep,
who's now the big Seth Greenberg. He was like
yep.
our little Seth Greenberg. He was like our little assistant coach. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I've seen it all. You've seen it all. basketball. It was just such a small time operation for
Right.
so long. And so to see them today, honestly, I'll probably, write a reflection when this is done, when this whole weekend is done. But, to be standing there at the open, training with in a gigantic dome at the Final Four with the University of Miami with the U on the shirt in a college basketball Final Four. It's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, I think I'll ask you just to reflect on the big picture in a second, but I know I only have you for a couple of minutes. It's double work for you because, hey, South Florida is the mecca of college basketball right now.
Mecca, yes. The whole rest of the country must be like, what in the world is going on with college basketball when the two of the four cities in the Final Four are Boca Raton and Coral Gables? I mean, who in the world would ever think that Coral Gables and Boca Raton are going to produce two of the Final Four basketball teams? It's absolutely crazy. The ticket prices went down. Houston and Texas both thought that they had a really good chance to play in this, and the
Right.
Final Four is in Houston. So as soon as Miami basically was like hacking the prices round by round, like they first beat Houston, which was devastating because Houston was the number one seed, and they all thought, the whole city of Houston thought they're going to be watching their team in the Final Four. So Miami, knocks them out. And then the Texans probably thought, okay, well, we don't get Houston, but, we'll get Texas. Okay,
Right.
we'll get Texas. They go and knock out Texas too. So anyway, the ticket prices did plummet about 30%, what I heard. And it's the lowest ticket prices, I think, since 2011. So, the rest of the country is not very excited about this, but South Florida is very excited about it.
Well, I just saw you just posted two stories. What are the experts saying about Miami and UConn? What are the experts saying about FAU and San Diego State? So give us some keys for the University of Miami. What's this game against our old friends from the Big East going to come down to?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been in touch with Darius Rice this week, that 43-point
Yep.
game. That's still like the highlight of his life. He's wandering around the Hyatt Regency lobby right now. He's taking pictures
I saw him take a picture with Constantine Popa. Yeah.
with Constantine Popa, with everybody. I mean, he's going around. He's just in his glory. He's so happy. He's taking pictures with former players, current players, like anybody who will talk to him. He's just so excited for it. But yeah, I mean, UConn, during the Leonard days, there were a couple of years there where it really was a good rivalry. And
Right.
when UConn was 34-2 and won the national title, Rip Hamilton's year, they only had two losses that year. One of the losses was to UM.
Yep.
Beat them. Miami was ranked number 10 at the time
Yep.
and went to the tournament, but lost in the second round. And then, soon after they made the Sweet 16 with Leonard. So
Yep.
Leonard really did have things building back then. And then, everything started to slide after he left for a while until Coach L came. But as far as this matchup, most of the experts are picking Connecticut. The two people that I found that like Miami are Coach K. So Mike Krzyzewski had a lot of good things to say about Miami. I know that he's rooting because, they're the only ACC team.
Right.
So I know the ACC coaches are all really praying that Coach L can pull this off. So Coach K thinks that Miami can win. And then Luke Hancock, who played for Coach L and is for the ACC network, he also was picking Miami. Most of the other experts are leaning toward or very heavily picking UConn. They say that both teams have good guards. Both teams have good guards who can score, but they say that UConn is a deeper team, has a deeper bench, and also their front court has a 6'9" guy who's amazing, and then a 7'2" freshman who weighs 265 pounds. So, Norchad Omier is the only low post presence that Miami has. And the question on him is always, will he be in foul trouble or will he not be in foul trouble? And you know that the opponent, whoever they are, in every game, I'm sure the scouting report, somebody is told, like, your assignment is to get Norchad on the bench, Right. So that's a big factor in every game that every analyst that I spoke to mentions the factor of, is Norchad going to be in foul trouble? Is he not going to be in foul trouble? Because that makes a big difference. He's such a difference maker, and he's really the only inside presence they have. I mean, the Miami guards do get rebounds and, they score in transition off those rebounds and stuff. But Norchad really is a really, really big key in this game, especially against a front court that's so big. And that team right now, in the 4 games that they've had so far this tournament, they've been average. The average margin of victory has been 22.5 points. That's the average that they've been winning by, is 22.5 points. So you can see why most people would favor UConn in this matchup. But then again, Miami was not supposed to beat the number 1 seed Houston, was not supposed to beat the number 2 seed Texas. And even Indiana, there were a lot of people that thought that with Trace Jackson Davis that Miami would not be able to handle him, and they did. So, who knows? I mean, it's a Final Four. San Diego State, Miami, and FAU are in this. So I don't think anybody can really predict anything in this tournament anymore.
Michelle, everyone that I've seen from the coverage that everyone's been providing today, Miami's really embracing this "don't pick us" kind of mantra. Hey, don't put our picture in the story. Don't pick us. Everyone pick everyone else. They've been embracing it the whole tournament. And it's something they're rallying around, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Miami. Look, we've been in Miami for a long time. People love to hate Miami. I mean, let's admit it. People love to hate Miami when it was the football team, when it was back in the days of Jimmy Johnson and Vinny Testaverde and Jerome Brown. People love to hate Miami, and the city too, just in general, always gets criticized all the time. There are so many people that love to hate Miami. And so the basketball team, even though Coach Larinaga could not be nicer and goofier and nerdier and just, he couldn't be all of those things. And his team reflects it. His team are just the nicest, most polite guys. They're just so nice and so respectful and everything. And yet there's still this sort of aura, this sort of thing that Miami Hurricanes are renegades. A lot of the questions this week have been about the NIL deals. No, they're not asking any of the other 3 teams about their NIL deals. But the line of questioning invariably in every press conference has been about the NIL deals and did it affect their locker room chemistry and all this stuff. So there's always this sort of feeling that from outsiders that Miami is kind of a renegade kind of program, that they're doing something a little under the table, a little sneaky, a little this, and that's even the case with this team, even though, like I said, Coach L is such a straight arrow, and his team they've never gotten in trouble. They all are super respectful and go to class and do everything the right way. And still there's kind of that Miami bad boy thing. It's carried over from the days of, from the bad boy Miami days of the 80s. I think that's never really gone away, that cloud that still hangs over. But you know what? The athletes, I think they feed off it. I really do. It's like an us against the world kind of thing. It's always been that way. I think it still is.
Get you out of here on this one. For the Miami Hurricanes to find themselves in the championship game on Monday night, they have to do what?
They have to stay out of foul trouble, especially Norchad. Norchad Omier must stay out of foul trouble. I believe if he's sitting on the bench, this team is going to have a very hard time winning it. As good as the guards are, I think it's going to be hard. They did a good job against Duke, without him, but it wasn't quite enough. And I think it could be the same thing. They will battle with or without him, which they showed against Duke when he got injured in the first minute. But I think it's going to be very hard for them to beat UConn. And the other thing is they have to defend. I think there's no question Miami can score. Miami, scored, Houston was averaging, they were giving up like 56 points a game, and Miami scored, 85 or 89, whatever it was. Miami's scoring in the mid to high 80s every game. So they definitely can score. The knock on them a little bit is that they're a little vulnerable defensively, that, that they're a little bit sloppy sometimes, that they could maybe not defend as well. And the UConn guards can definitely score too. And Texas was scoring at will in that first half. Now, Miami did come back, but I have to say, at halftime of that game, I thought to myself, okay, Miami has met its match. Miami has met a team that can score, they can shoot threes, that can keep up with them. And on top of that, and they were defending them. So, I think it's going to be the same situation where Miami, I think they can score. If it's just a scoring contest, I think they can outscore UConn. But if it's also comes down to the defense or the rebounding, I think, that's where they really have to pay attention. And Norchad must be in the game. Norchad cannot be sitting on the bench with 2 fouls halfway through the first half, because I think that would be really tough to overcome.
Well, you're in Houston, and you have the responsibility of covering both these games. FAU, Miami, 50 miles apart. It's absolute craziness. Try to get some rest, but also try to enjoy it as well. Michelle, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Sure. Have fun. Enjoy it this weekend. I'm sure it's going to be a blast to watch in Miami. I mean, part of me, it's just been, this whole run has been so fun, but also tired. It's tiring, and I'm 58 years old now. I'm not, back when I was in the mid 80s, I was much younger when I was running around doing all these things. So I'm getting a little older. It's a little tough to recover every night from all these late games and all this drama and excitement. But you guys should have fun. Those of you that are watching in Miami and in Boca and Fort Lauderdale, enjoy. I mean, we may never have a situation like this again. I mean, it's just so unusual to have Miami and FAU in the Final Four. It's still hard to even say those words, Miami and FAU in the Final Four.
Yeah.
The Owls, the Owls and the Hurricanes. It's pretty cool. So anyway, have a great time, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Michelle, thanks so much.